What's up, Kingdom of Rock? This is Matt Gibson, and we're here today with the incredible Brian Newman, jazz trumpeter, crooner, and all-out great guy, awesome musician. Brian, welcome to the show.
Super sharp dresser.
Boys, what's going on? I know I'm in my Sunday best over here in New York, man. What's going on, Matt, Michael? Thanks for having me on the show tonight, man. I'm stoked.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you, especially you just said you had dinner with the whole family, so you're not.
Yeah, we have about 12 of us over here. We had my wife made brajol, and I grilled out some sausage, some pork chops, and we had baked ziti with mini meatballs and Nutella mousse cake and all sorts of shit. We had a blast though. It was really good, man. Sunday dinner, lots of wine and beers.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're still awake. You're still here.
I'm awake, but see, I'm drinking a seltzer now, so I'm back to I gotta be on point with you cats.
That's right, because we ask those riveting questions.
Oh, I know. I heard about you guys.
Well, we do ask riveting questions, actually.
I know that
we do, but Brian, why don't we start? Because your tone is so nice, it's clear, it's very bell-like, and I'm just wondering, what trumpet players influenced you, and how did you develop your own sound on the horn?
Oh man, I mean, like I started emulating, the cats that I could emulate back then, which was like Miles Davis and Chet Baker, and I was listening to Dizzy Gillespie, you know what I mean? But like, there's some a couple other cats like intermediary between like, Dizzy's technique and like Chet, you know what I mean? And then Miles, and then there's like Blue Mitchell, and then Lee Morgan, and then there's like Clifford Brown and Dizzy, which was way up here. So like you had to like kind of get into it, you know what I mean? But I always just loved the sound of all kinds of music. I just I think I started with that, and emulating them and getting their sound in my ears, and then just if you do that enough times with people that you dig, like you start to get your own sound, and and you start to formulate your own ideas of what that sound is.
Did you do the band nerd thing, or were you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I always was in band. We had to do marching band to get to do jazz band because there wasn't that many kids at the school. And then I did all-star band, like whatever, like the college that had in town in Cleveland. Did that, and we just always had a good time, man. And then I was always playing live, like since I was really young. So it was nice. My parents were very supportive and dropping me off at like punk rock clubs in the heart of Cleveland. Like really, I really got all sides.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
I think you're the first. Okay, so you got to help us here.
Yeah.
Trumpeter, trumpeter, trumpet player. What's the lingo for your trade?
Trumpeter, trumpet player. Yeah, man. Band. I call myself a band leader. That's because I run bands. I play and I sing. I don't know. It's easier than saying trumpeter, vocalist, arranger. All band leader. I feel like it sums it up. Like back in the old days, you'd have a guy like Louis Prima or like. Or Stan Kenton, or even Buddy Rich. He was a band leader. It's like he played. He was the one to put the band together, one that got the charts together, or at least got the other guys to write the charts for him. You know what I mean? Or come up with a sound that was their own. I think that's really where that comes from. For me.
And on that note too, it's like when you're arranging for a band, are there? I mean, how do you kind of come up with a particular sound for that particular outfit? Because like you said, you want something that unique, right? So that you've got music that's written, melodies that are written, but you have to come up with arrangements that are yours. How do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just like I sit at the piano, and like it depends on what it's for too. If it's for my quintet at the Nomad After Dark, it's very open. If it's something for Gaga and the orchestra, it's like, okay, I know what song I'm gonna do. I know what song it is, so then I got to sit at the piano and I'll play the chord changes and I'll sing along, or I'll listen to. Sometimes I'll listen to my favorite recordings of that song and we'll go along with it. You know what I mean? It just depends. And like I did an arrangement of Poker Face for Gaga that we do with the 30-piece orchestra, and how I approached that was I listened to every recording she's ever done of it, and I found this really crazy like a live concert that she played solo piano in Japan, like right when the song came out. And she was doing this thing in the bass, and it was just like boom, bum, boom, do, bum, bum. So I just took that little piece and turned it into like an epic opus of like a spy chase scene. You know what I mean? It just depends what catches your eye or what it is. Or like, you know, sometimes we'll do a song like with the quintet that's just like Roxanne, and we just play the Sting version of it. You know what I mean? But then there's other songs like we do like a Bruce Springsteen tune, like I'm on Fire, that, you know, Alex Smith, our wonderful piano player, arranged a really different version of that song, you know? So it's like, it just depends, man. And we find inspiration everywhere, just like every other musician. You just kind of try to write what you hear in your head, you know? And I think that's the hardest part about it, is getting it out, you know?
Well, I will say this, talking about your Brian Newman at Night show in Vegas, I was personally present at one of their shows, and it was the most incredible Vegas show I've ever seen in my life. And I'll tell you why. It's like if Miles Davis and Frank Sinatra had a baby, Brian Newman would be like the child, the love child.
That's very kind, man. Those are two heroes, man. I'm honored to be in Las Vegas doing what we love. You know, that's really what it comes down to, is just, you know, trying to get people to forget about the bullshit for a little while in their own lives. And even for me, forget about my bullshit and go on stage and have a good time, you know what I mean? And that come off with the crowd, and it makes it real easy to be out there, man. It's a real tremendous honor, man.
Yeah, it was like a classic Rat Pack Vegas show, like with cabaret girls and dancers and, you know, all kinds of multi-instrumentalists. I think the show I went to, we had Kelsey Ballerini came up, and Michaela Gordon came up to sing. So there was a lot of cool cameos. Do you guys get a lot of cameos in your show?
Yeah, we tried. It's like my big thing, man. I love like showcasing, you know, talent, whether it's locally or whether it's people that are coming through town and playing shows. I mean, we get anybody from Robbie Krieger, you know, from The Doors, to Ashanti, to, of course, Gaga stops in every once in a while. And then, you know, you got great cats like Sky D Miles. She's out in Vegas. And there's so many great talented singers, Jacqueline McSpadden, I mean, Clint Holmes, you know what I mean? There's all these great Vegas cats that are just there, and we just love having them, man. You know, we love having them, even if you're sitting in the audience and they don't sing. You know, we love having Mr. Wayne Newton. He's always nice to see in the room, and you know, cats like Carrot Top and David Copperfield, and it's fucking amazing to be in the room and see guys like that there. It makes us feel good about what we're doing and why we're doing it, because at the end of the day, you know, we're not reinventing the wheel. This type of show has been going on for 100 years or more, you know, old vaudeville days. But it's just about that vibe and bringing people into it, making them feel like they're part of the show, because they are, you know. It's like and you want it to seem like off the cuff, but at the same time, to make it off the cuff, it's got to have some planning, you know what I mean? So it's like we just we know everything, so that when somebody shows up, we can do what we need to do, you know.
Of course, there's one difference between the classic Rat Pack. I don't know how much planning there was with Dean, Frankie, and Sammy and those guys, but that was pretty much wow. I mean,
yeah, I think
of weirdness.
I think they planned a lot, man. A lot of that stuff was scripted and written out, and you know what I mean. Like they were doing that like to a T, but making it look like they weren't. That's my favorite. That's my favorite shit. You know, so good.
Well, do you approach the show? You know, kind of a weird question, but
yeah,
is there something geographically about the show? Like, do you plan your shows differently in New York than you do for Las Vegas, or is it just the show's the show and the audience may change?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on what we do. We do a lot of just band stuff in New York. You know what I mean? We used to do a lot more burlesque and variety and stuff like that. But honestly, the rooms here, you know what I mean? They're not the same as they were. You know, so we play a lot of hotels, and you know, we've had residencies at many hotels over the course of the thing, and then we just try to do as much as we can, you know. But yeah, it's definitely tailored for Vegas with the showgirls, and you know, like Matt was saying, like all that stuff is like hitting those boxes, you know, that Louis Prima, Keely Smith, you know, that late night lounge vibe, you know what I mean? Like, you never know what you're gonna hear, you never know what you're gonna see, who you're gonna see. And just changing up the style of music, like not just doing jazz all night long. Like I fucking don't even like that word, really. You know what I mean? Like it's cool, but like it's like American music, American songbook. Like that's all these songs are the lexicon of old Broadway and, you know, and the blues and wherever all that stuff came from, you know.
Well, that was one night that Tim Stewart from Gaga was ripping guitar solos on the guitar. So like it's a variety show. It's like you said, the American Songbook, you know.
Yeah, totally. And that includes, to me, like you know, Thin Lizzy and Nirvana and like all these guys that are like, you know, I know Thin Lizzy's from Ireland, but you know, it's like this, just like I like this lexicon, like, because we have different experiences. You know, Miles Davis grew up with his influences, but I grew up listening to Pantera and Pearl Jam and Nirvana, and you know what I mean? Like, yeah, totally. Like, you know, Slayer, and like these things were in my mind. No FX, all these different kinds of music that we listened to in the 90s and late 80s, you know.
You're kind of a metalhead, really, right?
I really do love.
Like,
I love it.
He's got more tattoos than anybody that I know. Like Brian looks like the tattooed man. You know?
I should have worn my Slayer shirt tonight, if one of them, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, you know, those musical hybrids are awesome, and I think they bring, you know, different audiences in, which was awesome. I saw Steve Bailey with Victor Wooten and Greg Bissonette last night, and
nice.
Steve Bailey did a solo bass arrangement of Stairway to Heaven, which was just off the cuff.
Wow.
And you know, integrating a lot of his classical and jazz training into it. You recognized it because there was the motifs that everybody knows, but man, when he took it out, it was crazy. But you could tell that everybody was still digging it, you know, and they were just being their experience was being expanded by hearing it in a different way.
Yeah, that's great, man. Where did you see them at? I want to go see that next time I'm in town.
They're at Yoshi's.
Oh, you're out. You're out
in
LA.
San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm in the West Coast.
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. I love. It's been a while, man. I need to come back.
Yeah, I think they're touring though, because they can finally get back out again. So I'm sure they'll hit New York.
Oh God, I'm gonna look that up, man.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
Also, you know, just something you mentioned earlier about, you know, it's more hotels now. You know, Matt and I started Matt started the podcast, but early on in the podcast, we were talking about dealing with COVID because that was everybody's mind. But you, as a band leader and a business person, have obviously had to kind of pivot a little bit to keep the music going. So were there any significant changes in how you deal with your business, or was it pretty much just figuring out it's as simple as figuring out new places to play, or did you have a whole business strategy developed?
No, I mean, like, you know, we're always very lucky. We've always had places in New York to play, and thankfully Vegas kept us out there. You know, we were there during the pandemic a few times, and you know, a little bit scary, but we got to do what we got to do to feed our families. You know what I mean? But you know, I think it was just really just like, man, I just need to get back to the stage. We did a ton of live streams, but not really for money. I don't know. I wasn't really like, it's just, you know, stage at shows or whatever. We need a band. So every once in a while we'd all get together, we'd play outside, we'd barbecue, you know what I mean? Like in the summertime here in New York when it was a little more chill, but we tried to do whatever we could, man. We did some commercial stuff where, you know, we just did whatever we could to just stay afloat until we could get back to what we were doing. So no, but then of course, you know, during that time, like some of the venues that we played are closed and are still closed. Like the Gramercy Park Hotel, I was there 10 years, twice a week. And that was like our home base all the time. When we were in New York, we play there. When we were gone, we could come and go as we please. So we still have some places like that, and there's some new places opening. But there's some new place that I'm starting at in May in New York that's going to be really cool, like more like the Vegas type show here in New York again, which I'm really excited about. Yeah,
I didn't know about the Gramercy Park. That sucks.
Yeah, that's still closed, man. You know, they closed on March 13th, and haven't we played there the 12th, and that was it. Yeah.
Wow.
But listen, sometimes it's time for a change. You know, this new place that I'm going to be working at is like makes the Gramercy look like the Holiday fucking Inn. You know, it's like it's beautiful joint.
Well, Brian, let me ask you this. So,
am I allowed to say the F word on here? I don't even know.
Yeah,
us off. It's all right.
Unscripted.
Oh, all right, cool.
I mean, Matt doesn't let me swear, but you're fine.
All right, well, Matt, I'll keep the cussing to a minimum. I'm sorry,
Mike, if you wanna let an F-bomb rip tonight,
because the reason you don't let me swear is because typically that's all that comes out of my mouth.
Well, okay. Let me ask you this, Brian. So you kind of started your music career, you know, with the band program, the school band program, which I also did as well. I was a saxophone player, and
Nice, man.
I actually quit the band because they switched me from bari sax to tuba, and
No.
I didn't like playing the tuba. I was the only one that could read bass clef, so they needed a
Oh
tuba player.
man, the
So anyway, I played it my whole life too. It was so weird. But so how did you go from, like when you were first getting started, how did you build a business around playing the trumpet? Like that, like when did it become like a business for you?
I mean, I think it always was. I mean, like when I started playing, after I started playing jazz and I was like about 12 years old, and I started booking my own dates at like coffee houses in the neighborhood, you know what I mean? Like we were playing stuff like that. And then, but I was always putting the band together, getting the charts together, getting the music that we were going to play, as little as it was, or little as of our knowledge it was. We were just learning. And then, when I was about 13 or 14, I started playing at an Italian restaurant with some older guys that I booked, 3 nights a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night I was there. And it was just like, my dad really was cool because he was just like, he always said things like, he's a big jock. So it's like, he was always like, use sports analogies. But one thing he always said, he was just like, you want to be the best, you got to play with the best. And that was always, to me, was like older musicians that I looked up with, even if they were 16 or 17 or as I got older, they were older and older, everything and you continue to learn from people no matter what their ages are. But, just about like, I don't know, I'm going off track a little bit, but
no, I think that's interesting because, we all know musicians who their egos or their level of confidence, they don't want to play with people better. They don't want to get their asses kicked by badasses. And I think that, I don't know whether that has curtailed some, some musicians' careers or their growth as musicians. Or, I mean, I personally think that, you don't want to crawl up your own butt. You want to know how you stand against the best. So, I mean, I'm with your dad on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
But still, it must be difficult, especially as a teenager, to step on stage with these older badasses and go, shit, can I keep up with these guys? I mean, wasn't that difficult?
Yeah, but I think like getting my butt kicked or having them talk shit after the gig, like that was like I guess it could go either way. Either it lights a fire under you or you put your tail between your legs. And I wasn't that type of person. So, you know what I mean? It was like, whatever, you tell me no, I'm going to do it harder and better. You know what I mean? And like, and I still got so much to learn. But yeah, I just think it, and yeah, times there, it's very tough, Michael. I really think, there was times where I went home and fucking probably cried. You know what I mean? But like,
right.
But like at the same time, when you wake up that next morning, you know what I mean? It's time to go. It's time to put work in and really build your, I spent my time building my own thing. That's why I love being a band leader, because I could, I didn't just go and try to book all the jazz clubs that all the jazz guys were playing at. I went out of the realm, played at restaurants. I would go to restaurants that didn't have a show, and I would do a show there. You know what I mean? Like, and make it and bring people and build it. And just like that's the part of it. But like, and like you said, there's room for everybody. You just got to get out there and try your hardest and keep working at it. And just like, I don't know, man, I'm always hustling, always trying to work at it, get better.
And I have a question about your, your intensity is the wrong word, but now with the clubs closed, clubs are kind of opening up now after COVID. So everybody's kind of on ground zero, at least in the North Bay, where I live by San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, you've got some of the clubs who are like, okay, we've gotten our butts kicked for 2 years now. I want someone who can bring in 150 people, or it's not worth it. Or you've got, and what that's done is it's kind of frozen a certain level of musician like you're talking about, because when you first book something and grow it, it's probably not that awesome, but you just have to try to grow it. So do you think post-COVID, or at least post-major COVID, we've lost the ability for musicians to grow shows?
No, I don't think so. I think it's always been a grassroots thing. And like you can, and like that's what I'm talking about. Like if you go to the clubs that are always having great musicians and you're not really there yet, or your people don't know you yet, it's like you got to put that work in somewhere. You know what I mean? And I always thought, just building your own room, building your own house. It's like the Nomad show. That's the culmination of me doing that for 25 years, 30, you know what I mean? Since I was like 12 years old, like just going from a coffee house to Italian restaurant to music venue to a restaurant that we build a stage and get a piano in there and just like bring people in. And I did crazy shit in New York when like we were starting to do the first Brian Newman After Dark show was at Duane Park, maybe 2005 or 6, and I took 2 showgirls in full drag, full costume, and we went to like Thrillist and Go Urban Daddy. There was these places where, and then we went to like the New York Times tasting table, and we walked in the offices with envelopes with invitations to come to the show. You know what I mean? Free dinner for you and the reporters or whatever. And they came in, they write things. It's like there's just out of the box. With social media today, I think it makes it easier than ever to make that kind of stuff happen. Even though it's hard to get your voice heard, it's about building that following and that steady growth. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that you can have longevity and not just be a flash in the pan.
You're definitely like an old school street hustler. Like you're just you're in my brain. You're like the New York hustle, like the Gary V kind of thing. Where he talks about you got to swing the bat. You got to swing the bat,
Yeah, totally.
And strike out, like
you do. You really do. Yeah.
A lot of artists, I think they get discouraged from the local music scene. So like I just moved to LA in 2019. I'm building my music career. I'm getting ready to do my first, I did my first show right before COVID, but I'm getting ready to do my first production show probably in about 2 months here in Vegas. I'm going to do a little residency at a place.
Oh, congrats.
And and so, but I was in a local music scene in Virginia, and there were talented musicians there, but it was like there was a ceiling, and you couldn't get past the ceiling of success as a regional artist. It was just like you were stuck. And so when I moved to LA and Vegas, now you can do anything. And I didn't realize you could do anything there too. But it's kind of like you get discouraged because you don't see the momentum picking up. But if you're in a major city, it's easier to get that momentum going sometimes. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's easier and harder, you know what I mean? But I think like you said, I grew up in Cleveland. I went to school in Cincinnati. I was only going to go so far in those 2 places. It's like I would have never been able to play with Tony Bennett or Gaga or like do all these things if I wasn't in New York, or whatever. It's like I just wanted to be here, whether that's LA or Nashville now or New York City or whatever. It's like whatever works for you, wherever you feel comfortable. Like, I think that's a great thing, Matt. Congrats on everything you're doing. It's very cool.
I didn't know you were from Ohio. I grew up in Canton-Massillon area.
Oh, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man. That's not far
then
at all.
I moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, rock and roll capital of the world. But
Nice, man. Nice.
Well, so like, okay, so you've built this career around being a trumpet player and a showman. How did you connect with, Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett and all these incredible artists that are, world-class? Dude, and I'm going to tell you one thing. Brian is, for guitar players, Brian is like the Yngwie Malmsteen of the trumpet. He can rip the crap out of a trumpet. Like, I've never heard anybody like Miles Davis, Brian, like it's same vibe, dude. Just ripping the trumpet. But
that's Brian doesn't get on fights on airplanes though. Like
no, it's cool. I'll keep my mask on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But how did you get like start about where you were just starting to get those really good gigs and where you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this, or how are you thinking?
I mean, listen, to me, man, it's always showbiz. It's like one day you're doing really great things, and the next day you could be doing a gig you hate. I don't think it matters what level you're at. You know what I mean? But that's just what showbiz is. I don't think there's no like secret curtain. Once you're behind it, and you're never going to be on the other side again. But I think when I moved to New York, I struggled for a long time. I was here for 6 years before I was playing music full time. You know what I mean? It's like I waited tables, I drove cars, I worked for a moving company. You know what I mean? I donated plasma for $50, $75 a hot shot. I sold flugelhorns to stay here, and I sold a couple trumpets that I had back in the day. just to stay in this city, because I knew if I stuck it out that I'd be able to do what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And that's, I think that's what the perseverance and you know, not leaving early, not putting your tail between your legs and going home. It's just like, you know, sticking with it, going through the motions, man, meeting people, and I just can staying humble, you know what I mean? And be, like you were saying earlier, Michael, like be willing to learn, you know what I mean? Not just to be like, have the ego that's so big that's not going to let anybody else in, you know what I mean?
Was there a moment though where you realized that, all right, I'm finally on the first step?
Yeah, yes and no. You know what I mean? I think yes and no. I think it was like I met Gaga. I was a bartender and down in the Lower East Side, and she was hanging out at this bar a lot. This is before all the fame and all that stuff. But she was a go-go dancer there, and her and her friend Lady Starlight used to do a DJ go-go dance set on Friday nights, and I was hanging out there. Then I started working there, and we just became friends. And over the years, we've done other things together, and you know, she's really helped me, bring my career up to where it is, you know, and with lots of room to go, you know what I mean? But that was huge. She asked me to do the Today Show with her, and I think that was the first time that I did like something really, I mean, we've done all other stuff too. We played with Frank Sinatra Jr. We've done like other gigs on our own, and we did a lot of stuff in New York on our own, and I think that's what, she saw in us. She would come and sit in with us at the jazz clubs that we were playing. I mean, whatever, the hotel, Oak Room at the Plaza, and down at Duane Park, where I did the first After Dark show. That's the first time she came and sang with us, and just kind of clicked it off, man. And it was like, oh, we both play music. I would go to her shows at the bitter end, and all these cool places she was playing, right at the verge of all this stardom. And that really helped. I felt like that was where I was like, okay, I still have a lot of work to do, but this is giving me the edge that I need to really make something happen, I think.
It was interesting because when I did my research on you, you get into the YouTube abyss. I found, Lady Gaga singing, with the Rolling Stones, Give Me Shelter.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because, I mean, she's completely unhinged, He's completely in the moment, so much so that it was a rare case where Mick Jagger is like frozen. He just doesn't know what to do.
I gotta watch that one, man.
He Mick Jagger, but she's just completely eradicated him.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing when some of the clips I've seen of you. It's like you're so in, you're completely in the moment. And if I, consult with somebody or bands around the Bay Area, it's like, you can't really teach that, but if you're standoffish even a smidge, or not completely involved in your instrument and throwing it out there to an audience, it gets weird for an audience, right? I mean, it's hard for them to say, I'm comfortable now. But if you're really just breathing fire and have that confidence, and it's not fake confidence, it's like you're almost letting the muses drive you, it's a whole different experience.
Totally. Even if you don't always play the right note, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're just giving it your all. And listen, at the end of the day, man, we're not curing cancer. We're not trying to save the world. We're entertainers. And that for me, that's my job, is to entertain. I'm a glorified bartender, with a trumpet and a microphone. I'm just trying to get the vibes out there. You know what I mean? And that gives us all we need. But you're absolutely right, Michael. Like, it's something you can't teach. I see that all the time,
Well, a glorified bartender that walks in with two showgirls dressed up like angels.
I know some good bartenders back in the
day. But I love that. I love that attitude, though, Brian, because it's like, Frank Sinatra had a huge ego, of course, but basically he, his famous quote was, I'm just a saloon singer,
Yeah.
When you say that you're an entertainer, because when I was, editor, guitar player, I've been in the music journalism field for a long time. There's people who just, I'm going to practice this and I don't want to play any wrong notes. And not playing any wrong notes becomes more important than entertaining an audience. And those cats, I never respect that much. It's like, okay, so it's a perfect show, snore.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to have my seat move 5 feet back,
Totally. I know what you mean, man. It's like you just gotta go for it. You know what I mean? I think that's a tough thing in school. It's like what they teach kids in school. It's like you got to go outside the box, and you got to fuck up to find out what you got to you got to reach for it. You know what I mean? I feel like you got to, like, you don't learn to slam dunk by just all of a sudden one day you're slam dunking on a basketball hoop. You know what I mean? Like you got to build up to that if you're not tall enough. You know, like I don't know, man.
How do trumpet players cover up mistakes? I know guitar players, you're always a bend away from the right note, right?
Yeah, there's not really on trumpets. Kind of, you can. Sometimes if I play the wrong note, I play it again, and then I play it again, and then it makes it right. You know.
Yeah.
But listen, I don't know. It's just sometimes it's hard to hide it on a horn. You can bend into stuff, but if you just play the wrong, if you go for a note, sometimes I go for a note on the end of the song, and I think I'm going to play an E, and I don't, and I play like an E flat, you know, it's just and it clashes. Listen, it happens to the best of us. What are you going to do? You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, you can't fold up shop. A lot of people do.
Yeah. No, you just get it next time, man. You know, it's my fault for not practicing. You know what I mean? You know.
I will say that one thing that I really respected about your show is what Mike was saying, the confidence that you walk in with, that you carry into the room. And it's not artificial. It's like the most well-rehearsed, like, but not rehearsed.
Oh,
it's kind of like loose, but it's like, you know, you're dealing with a master that has done this over and over and over again, and, you know, like, put in the 10,000 hours, 10 million hours, however long it is. You know,
I'm starting to think that you slipped Matt some money here.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, dude, it takes a lot,
bro. That's really nice, man. That's very kind.
I'm a metal guitar player, man. For me to be bragging on a trumpet player is something special.
That's really funny, man.
Like, you definitely really made an impression on me, dude. That's why I was so excited to have you on here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so glad we got to do it, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it took so long for me to get on here, man. So
no, it's
good
cool,
stuff.
dude.
It's good because you're busy. So, you know, there you go.
Yeah, no, it's good. Finally busy again, you know, for the most part, you know.
So, you know, I wanted to, you know, on your website, there's a quote that, you know, I want to make it jazz accessible again. And, you know, that's great. That's a flag to fly, but it's also so open. You know, I mean, how do you personally, you know, how do you define accessible for one thing, and how do you personally plan to make that happen?
Well, I think it's just about, like, the way it's presented. You know what I mean? It's like you can have the most technical thing in the world. You don't have to change the content to make the music accessible. It's just about how it's presented. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like the way that, you know, people have a misconception about the music because, you know, just because of whatever in pop culture they think of jazz, or like it's snoozy, or it's smooth jazz, or whatever category that the record companies want to put shit in. You know what I mean? It's like, people think it's that, but it's really not. It's the music that we play is the culmination of everything that's America. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the most traditional thing ever. I feel like rock and roll and jazz, all this whole anatomy of the music. I don't know how to say it, but like, just this breeding ground that is the U.S. that has all this music comes from. It's like, that's where it's at. You know, I guess, does that answer your question? I don't know. I kind of rambled out.
No, I think you're right. I think that sometimes the labels that we like to put on music or art or theater or film, you know, we like to have labels, and I think jazz has gotten, you know, not served well by those labels.
No, I totally.
In the 50s, it was great because it was super cool and everybody wanted to be that. You get to post-British invasion, the labels really didn't do jazz many favors.
No, totally. I mean, I think you look at those records, even like some of the 70s, like jazz records, like they were like, oh, just put a bunch of phaser on this, and like, we're just gonna, you know, like, well, let's, you know, like, I don't like trying to make it like not like Weather Report. I mean, I love Weather Report. I'm trying to think of an example of like, just like something like, hey, I like some of even like the Sinatra records from that era. You know what I mean? Some of them are like, they have that like modern sound. I don't know how to describe it. That they tried to throw some rock and roll in there, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know. I don't know. Then you got like
it was like Frank. I forget what show he was on where that some variety show where he wore the turtleneck with the love beads. I mean, that was like,
Yeah, and
he's not going to do that.
He's doing disco, you know what I mean? Like, which is totally hip, but it's just like the way that they changed it and the way the label tried to sell it back then, you know? And I feel like too, like even now without record stores, like, why do we need any labels for any genres? And I mean,
exactly.
You know, it's like
I think we should all revolt.
Slot.
Yeah. We should eradicate all genres.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. That's probably stupid to say, but
no, I think we should do it. Let's just start. We're going to start the revolution.
Right exactly. Now. It's music, baby. It's music. You know.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about your Tony Bennett experience?
Yeah, Tony, man, was awesome. I met Tony through Gaga too. We were playing I was just guesting with her like on one or two songs at a show at the Robin Hood Gala. It's like a fundraiser for impoverished youth in New York, and they raised like 30-40 million dollars at this one party for all these kids to go to college. I don't exactly know what they do with the money, but I know it's a good thing. I don't want to say the wrong thing is what I'm saying. But he was in the crowd, and then I remember being backstage and somebody saying, "Oh, Gaga, you know, like Tony Bennett wants to meet you," and she was like, "Oh man." So he came back and he talked to her, and we were just kind of listening. And you know, she was like, "We should do a record together," and they end up doing the record. The Lady Is a Tramp, which I didn't play on. But then we kept doing it, and then we ended up playing a Thanksgiving special, and we got to play with Tony, and then we got to do the Cheek to Cheek record with Tony, with my band from New York. And it's half Tony's band, half my band from New York, plus the two of them. And that just went on from there. And then we got to do the tour with two bands on stage and an orchestra like every night all over the globe. And it was just amazing. And then we got to do another record and more promo and more. It's really been an amazing journey, man. And then,
well, going back, since all the people that Tony's played with in his career, did you go like, well, what was it like playing with this person or that person? Or did you kind of try to, get some knowledge from him? Because that guy, there's so many people that he's played with.
Oh yeah, I mean, we would pick his brain every chance we got. You know what I mean? Like we really would. And he was so helpful and so cool with us. You know what I mean? We would all be drinking at the hotel bar, like wherever the fuck in like Brussels or Belgium, Ghent or and like he would just show up and be like, "Hey, can I have a drink with you guys?" And we're just like, You're Tony Bennett, right? You can do whatever, like we didn't say that, but we were just so happy to be around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, not to put you on the spot, but what was one of the glorious tidbits that he shared with you that kind of helped you as a musician?
Oh man, he just the way that he said things and just the way it really wasn't anything that he said, but it was just I learned more about his presence and what he did and his actions. You know what I mean? It's like how he was on stage, how he sang, how he dealt with the audience, how he dealt with fans, how he dealt with, just everybody. You know what I mean? Every single move that he made, it was like I was watching him like a hawk. Like you just don't leave. You know what I mean? You don't. I just paid attention to everything, man. And he just was his kindness, his humility, and just the way that he phrased, the way that he would run his band, the way that he did everything was just like. The way that he chilled us all out and made us feel like we were all good and having a good time here. You know what I mean? Like it was cool. And we learned a shit ton from the other guys in his band because those are also, just some of the greatest musicians on earth, like they really are.
Did you guys do like any impromptu jams and things like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I have a habit of booking after parties whenever we do that stuff on the road. Whenever we played with her, we'd play every night after the show somewhere at some little club in the city.
Oh,
you know what
nice,
I mean?
Dude.
So, and then, maybe they'd come down, maybe they wouldn't, it's like, but, then we got to New York and we're at the Rainbow Room and Tony Bennett and Gaga and all these people. It's just like after Radio City, it's like those nights I'll never forget, But it was the way that he carried himself, Michael, like just what we like, that's what I learned the most. And just like his reverence for the music too, like that, his reverence for the, for the Great American Songbook, for these composers like Cole Porter and George Gershwin, and just like what the songs really meant and what they were about and what they were about during the time that they were written. You know what I mean? Like these old songs that were part of our history, Yeah.
He was so cool. I was at a Grammy tech rehearsal years ago, And I don't know what the deal is then, but they were trying to get him to use in-ear monitors or something for that show.
Oh, dude, yeah, he don't. No way.
This is the way we do it, Bennett, blah blah blah. And he's well, give me a second. He walked to the edge of the stage at the Staples Center, and he held a note, I think, for 7.5 hours or something, and then he turned around and said, "I don't need these."
Yeah, totally. No, he won't do them. Even in the studio, he sets up a live sound. He has 2 monitors on the floor. He doesn't wear headphones in the studio either. If you see any of that stuff, because he wants to hear the band. He's got his vocal monitors that point up at him, and then they got and his sound cats, Tom Young and Dave Bennett, and those guys are like some of the best to work with too. They were really incredible to be around. Live sound and studio sound, all that stuff made Tony and the guys and us just sound phenomenal.
Yeah, that's, you got to cherish those people.
Oh, try to soak it up, man. Because it takes a village. It's not just us. It's everybody that makes that stuff happen.
Well, when you're doing your show, how do you kind of deal with, once again, failings I see in a lot of younger musicians and older musicians is not paying attention to the audience and not realizing that, as you said earlier, we're the bartender. So are there certain things that you do if you see the crowd getting restless, or maybe they're getting too hopped up and you want to bring things down? I mean, what are some of the things you look for as a band leader to bring the audience into the show and kind of control them a little bit? Yeah, I mean,
listen, they can get as rowdy as they want. I'll never stop. I'm never trying to bring it down. But but I think last night, for example, we were at Fine and Rare. We play there every Saturday night, and something, I just interact with them. I talk to them. I single them out in the crowd and I say things. You know what I mean? Like there was a couple in the front row last night, and they were like on their phones a little bit, and they were having a good time, but they were like on their phones talking to each other. And I just said on the mic, I was like, "Hey, babies, listen, man, you guys are having way too much fun. You better knock it off, relax here. You know what I mean? Like just don't get so excited. I don't know, just stuff like that. You got to talk to them. You got to bring them into where you're at. Yeah, but I guess that's it. I try to just keep them engaged, and if I see something's going too long, if the song is going too long, we finish it up. If we see that like it's all that. If I see like if the set's not, if we need to do an extra song or we need to cut one to make it more of a button, you know what I mean? So like then we do that on the fly. I yell out to the guys, or I was like, yo, cut this one or add this one in. We're to do this, and then we're leaving. You know what I mean? It's all about just keeping that pacing, and if I feel the crowd needs more or they need less or whatever it is, like we make those adjustments on the fly for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think it gets down to things that Matt and I have discussed too about musicians having big ears, where that's kind of a lost art too. The song's arranged, and if somebody makes a mistake or the sound man screws up, there's a lot of artists that just get lost, because they're not listening to what's going on.
Right. They don't know what's happening. And like, I think a lot of times too, what happens with young cats and just people in general, it's like, the solos can't go on for 2 hours, man. Like you need to like get in, say what you're going to say, and like get out. It's like, I that's like a huge pet peeve. Whenever I go somewhere, like a jam session, the guy takes like 30 choruses on something. You're just like, bro, like, nobody cares, man. You know what I mean? Like you played all your good shit in the first 32 bars, like just
unless you're Steve Vai.
Yeah, well that's cool too, but I don't
know if Steve Vai would go for 3 hours. I think he does quit too.
I'd listen to it, but
quit, man.
No, I know.
Yeah, but you're a guitar player, man. But
I know.
Listen to, like, I wish I could just play without taking a breath. It's like you just
a marimba solo.
I remember it.
But however, most guitar players do look to you guys for phrasing and all that stuff if we're smart.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. I'm real lucky in New York. We get to go see like Mike Stern plays at 55 Bar, and Wayne Krantz play there like once a week, once every other week. So we're there in town. We can go see them. It's always I love it. One of my favorite guitar players too was Randy Rhoads, man. Another huge influence on me, and just love that stuff. Love it. I wish I could play. Guitar was my first instrument, but my dad got me, the little PV amp, and then he got me the Squier, the red Squier to go with it. They sold it like Sam Ash, like it was like $1.79. I could never play it. I had the Metallica tab book, and I had the Nirvana Nevermind tab book, and that's all I knew how to play.
Was this at the same time you were a band geek, or was this before?
This is maybe a little bit before, like before I started playing trumpet. Probably was probably like 9 or 10, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. And I wasn't practicing that. Like once I got the trumpet in my hands, I don't know. It was just a different.
Well,
thing.
was it just the trumpet was magical, or that the guitar really wasn't working out the way you wanted, but you still wanted to play, so you figured out where to go? How did that happen?
I was just kind of weird. It was random. I don't know if I was even really thinking about any of that. I wanted to play guitar because I loved those bands like I said, like Metallica, Pantera, like that was like, the heyday of those guys, like 90, 91, like all these like killing bands there was an older dude down the street, Rob Collada, and he was like maybe 3 or 4 years older than me. So he was hipping me with all like this Led Zeppelin tapes and like all this stuff that like an older brother would have done for me if I had an older brother. It was he was that, So that was the first influences that I had. I wasn't even listening to jazz yet. It was all rock and roll, all metal and Slayer and all that kind of stuff.
Well, was that a weird transition to all of a sudden go from Slayer to like, Frank Sinatra?
Yeah, a little bit, but I also like it's all about the technique. You know what I mean? I feel like when I was in college, like there was like I went to a conservatory in Cincinnati, and all the guitar players, they were classical guitar players and I was friends with a lot of them because we liked all the same music. They were there to learn how to play their instrument so that they could shred. You know what I mean? Like that's what they were doing all the classical stuff for. So I kind of went that route with it. I learned my technique like they were doing it. Like, you listen to Slayer's playing in mixed meter. It's fast as all hell. Like this is not easy. You know what I mean? Like to some people, maybe it sounds like noise, obviously not you guys, but it's like to me and to musicians, you're like, wow, how do they do that? That's so their technical abilities is amazing. And I guess what I'm trying to say in a long way is I knew if I could learn how to execute the trumpet as best as I could, then I could play whatever the hell I wanted to. You know what I mean? And that's what I think that's what that's where that comes from. I mean, Steely Dan, those guys were all jazz guys, and their technique was out the ass. I know it's a big difference from Slayer and Steely Dan, but I feel like the level of technique is similar. And their harmonic stuff is not similar, but you guys know what I mean. Their knowledge of the music is vast.
No, Steely Dan's cool. That was one of the groups we studied at Berkeley.
Michael hates Steely Dan. He's just like, fucking, I hate Steely Dan.
It's funny you say that because I kind of did for a long time.
I can see it in your face, even on my little screen. I'm like, Michael does not like Steely Dan.
Mike is a punk rock guy. Mike's a punk rock guy. I'm a metalhead.
I like to think I'm more of an emotion guy, and for me, it took a long time for me to hear the emotion and. Steely Dan. Even from a record production standpoint, it was so clean, and the drums were like, But I wanted to hear like kabam, that. But then again too, you got Steve Gadd playing drums on those things. So what was I thinking?
No, but not at all. And even me, I was like, when I was a kid, I was like, this is cheesy. You know what I mean? And then like you get older, and you're like, wow, this is like heavy. You know what I mean? Like it's like just heavy stuff.
No, but I literally just bought 2 Steely Dan records for my daughter.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man.
She loves Steely Dan. But okay, so we are getting close to the top of the hour, so I wanted to make sure we get a chance to talk about what you're currently doing, and music. What kind of recording, what gigs you got coming, where people can find you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man, we're going to be doing, I'll be back in Vegas April 14th through May 1st. That's definitely the next big thing that's happening. We're doing a lot of gigs in New York between now and then. We play at the Fine and Rare every Saturday night, and we play at Soho House once a week. Those all around, all in New York. And then I start a new gig at this new hotel called the Amman Hotel that's opening in mid-May. And that's going to be in the Crown Building and 57th and 5th Avenue in Manhattan. And it's just it's going to be, I'm the creative director of the whole club in the basement. So we're going to have like run of the mill. They got a beautiful sound system, a Myers Constellation sound system, and piano, and just like, it's going to be, I'm very excited about that. And so it's just going to be like, I'm going to be spending my time in New York and Vegas, and that's, that's the dream come true for me, man. I don't need anything else really. I'm good with that. That'd be cool, man.
But just so I can see you, just try to get Yoshi's to book you for 3 days. So
you know what, that would be so hip, man. That would be so hip. I love that club too. Yoshi's is beautiful.
Yeah, they've got that stuff dialed. The sound is amazing. And
if you know anybody over there, man, send them my way. I wouldn't mind talking to them. You know, I don't think I have any.
I'll see if I can get a hookup there.
Yeah, man. Send me even if it's just an email. We'll sort it out, man. It'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, it's totally selfish just because I want to see this thing. You know, Matt's like, well, it was the greatest show ever. It's like I feel left out. So I don't.
No, dude, you gotta in April. You gotta come to Vegas. Sometime in April, at the end of April, and see that show at the Park MGM Park Hotel
at the Nomad Library. I'll put you guys both on the list. Just let me know anytime. It's a late night show. Michael, come out. Matt, come out again, please, man. Please.
It's so good, dude. You will not regret it. It's worth the trip, dude. 100%.
It's fun. I'm honored, man. I'm really humbled and honored to be doing that in Vegas. Where it's really a
when are you I haven't seen the Gaga show yet. When is that? Is that over, or is there going to be another round of that?
That's the same time that we'll be there. So we're doing 21 shows between the April 14th and May 1st. It's 12 shows of our own and 9 with her.
And that's at the Dolby Theater and the MGM Park.
Yeah, and that's the band from New York, and the band that plays at the Nomad with the 30-piece orchestra and her and in the Dolby Theater. And then right afterwards, we run to the Nomad Library and do the late show through 4 nights a week.
I left at 4 a.m.
Yes,
the one that I went to.
the party that never sleeps. That's what it is, man. So good.
Yeah, it was a late night, but man, it was a lot of fun. And it was a who's who of cool people.
Where do you get your stamina for that? That's crazy.
Oh, dude, that's for like where I live the most. I love that. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot, but yeah, because we do 21 shows within like 3 weeks, and it's like, well, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, and then we go 7 shows, and then 3 days off, 7 shows, 3 days off, 7 shows. It's like it's a whirlwind, but I do love it, and my chops get so good, and I just by the end of that thing, I'm ready to do another 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
Well, if you get a break during that time, the sandwiches are on me, bro.
All right, dude, I would love that. Let's definitely do that.
And there's some good. Vegas has got some good food. I know New York does too. I've never.
I love Vegas, man. I love Vegas food, man. We eat I gain weight there though, man. Just like. Between Roberta's and what is that? The taco place, Roberta's. It's so good. Oh, and then the Golden Steer. That's my favorite place on earth.
I've never been there, but it's on my list. Maybe I should take you to the Golden Steer. Maybe we should do that.
That's a good one.
Feeling left out again.
It's like
Michael, you got to come.
San Francisco boy is feeling left out.
We'll come have some mission burritos down there. With you. All right, we'll be down there.
well, I'll have to get you that Yoshi's gig, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. I would love that.
Well, I'm going to do a kind of around the horn thing and get wrapped up here. Mike, did you have one last question you wanted to wrap things up?
No, I mean, I just wanted to thank Brian for having I know it's late where you are in the East Coast, but just amazing. I think that you're inspirational. Hopefully, all you musicians in the Kingdom of Rock are inspired by this hard work. Keeping your ears open, all the things you said, being an entertainer, all this is important. I'm going to talk like Brian. All this is important fucking shit. So
baby.
That was my one F-bomb, Matt. Thank you. Brian said I could say it.
The censors are not happy.
Said it was okay.
The censors, dude. Tell them about FCC, whatever.
But thank you for being a part of this, Brian. I learned a lot, and hopefully the community learned a lot. So thank you so much.
It's an honor to talk to you both, man. Thank you so much for having me on, man. It's great. You guys are great guys, and it means a lot to me to that you even want me to do it. So thank you, man.
Dude. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Be sure to check out our website at kingdomofrock.com. You can check out Brian's website at briannewman.com and Michael Melenda at guardiansofguitar.com, among many other websites. And we do this every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, live stream. You can come here, ask questions to the artist. Our live stream, I've noticed if we quit doing the show for a while, the live stream is kind of like, not a super large amount of traffic. But the cool thing about coming to the live stream is you get to directly ask questions to the artist. So we would like to start trying to build that up, but it's so weird. Social media, they kind of like, they regulate everything and they don't want you to get the traffic that you want. You know, it's frustrating. But anyway,
we are serving these out as podcasts, so you will be able to get the whole library on the podcast. You know, not just because it's something that Matt and I did, but man, everybody we've talked to for the most part has shared an immense amount of knowledge that's really important. You know, you got to be on your game these days, you know, to get ahead. So we're grateful to artists like Brian and the people that have had on the show who have been so sharing of their knowledge and their experience. So don't miss out. There's a lot of groovy knowledge there on the podcast.
All right. So on that note, Brian, you get the last word.
Yo, fellas, bro, guys, have a good night, man. Up the irons, and I love you, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, we'll see you. Take care now.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, baby.
Bye-bye, Brian.